Jessica Peters, and welcome to Literature in My Kitchen. Today's episode, we are going to be discussing traditional literature and folklore.
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing a presentation for my class about folklore.
Folklore? Yay!
Folklore is an exciting genre. Stories from folklore were first born in the oral tradition, so no one really knew their true origins. Many people have collected these stories and written them down and retold them so they could be remembered for years. Wow, that is really interesting. I wish I had stories that I could tell that would be that interesting. The really great thing about folklore is that it's part of every culture. It's really a universal thing that ties many people together. For example, we all know the story of Cinderella or Little Red Riding Hood, and it makes it for a commonality for all of us. In folklore, the characters do not need to be as well developed as in other genres. For example, in Cinderella, would you be able to tell me how she looks without referring to the movie? I didn't think so. All right. So you would describe Cinderella in other general terms, such as she was a seamstress, she has really awful sisters, she marries the prince, that kind of thing. And in folk tales, the characters are meant to symbolize the different human traits, such as good or evil, or jealousy, or love. There are lots of different types of folklore. One type is folk tales. But wait, isn't that all of them, you might ask? Well, yes, all traditional stories could technically be referred to as folk tales. But there are different types of folk tales. There are cumulative tales. An example of this would be, there was an old lady that swallowed a fly. Now this one is an old lady that swallowed a trout, but it's the same principle. You start with one animal that she swallows the fly, then you go, she swallowed the spider to catch the fly, she swallowed the cat to catch the spider to catch the fly. You keep referring back to the original thing, so it's cumulative. It accumulates all of those all together. All right. Now then there is the pourquoi tale. Well, I don't speak French very well, but that means why. They're stories that explain things that happen in nature and why they happen. One example of this is a Native American tale called Why the Loon Calls. It explains why the loon is calling and why that started. All right, the other types of folk tales are noodlehead, where there is a noodle-headed character that's kind of doesn't really know what they're doing. And there's realistic, which could potentially happen, but it's got real characters, but it's still an unrealistic setting. And fairy tale. The fairy tale is probably the most popular and well-known of these. The Grimm brothers are probably the most well-known of these authors, and they collected a lot of the folk tales around in Europe and put them into books. One of theirs is Rumpelstiltskin over here, and we also have Thorn Rose, which is commonly known as Sleeping Beauty here. And there's one more over there, I believe, but I don't remember which one it is. Right, and there's also tall tales. These stories are about, they use exaggeration as a stylistic point. One of these tales is Paul Bunyan. Paul Bunyan is a tall tale. His height is exaggerated and everything. There's also Johnny Appleseed and John Henry are some tall tales. Fables are brief stories that are meant to teach a lesson, and they normally include a moral at the end of the story. Aesop's fables are probably the most famous of these. Myths grew out of people's need to understand the world and how everything came to be. Gods and goddesses are often used in these. Greek myths are popular and well-known, and many other cultures have myths to explain how the world came to be. This one is Son of the Sun, and that's an Aztec myth. All right. Epics, ballads, and legends are close together, but they tend to blend together. Epics are lengthy hero tales. Ballads are hero stories, but they're put into poetry. And legends are rooted in historical figures such as King Arthur. And some tall tales can also be legends, such as Davy Crockett or John Henry. Paul Bunyan would not be a legend because he was not an actual person. Religious stories are also classified as folklore. Though some people may find it controversial to have their religion be known as a folklore, we're just going to say that it is the human quest to find and share the truth. One of these religious stories is Noah's Ark, or this one is How the Animals Saved the Ark. All right. Religious stories that are related to religions not currently practiced would be called a myth. And so that would be why the Greek goddesses are the myth, because not a lot of people worship them nowadays. So Islamic, Christian, Buddhist, all of those different religions, the stories would be classified as religious stories. So, as you can see, there's a big variety of books and stories that fit into the category of traditional literature and folklore. From fairy tales to myths to tall tales, these tales stay with us for a long time, and we will remember the lessons for generations to come.